have fun at school, which is always the one that gets thrown back at me. There was actually only 2 of us trying for Layla. So we kind of did a couple of days of workshops. The girl who was going for Layla with me, her and I kind of got talking a lot, and, you know, we were kind of like 15, 16 when we were auditioning, and she was telling me about how, you know, she lived out of home, she lived on her own, she supported herself, she'd been out of home for a really long time, and you know, the job would kind of like make such a huge difference to her because, yeah, she basically was like all on her own. And I remember saying to my mum, oh my gosh, like I really think it's better that she gets the role, like she really needs this. And my mum was just like, Dajana, that's not how you want to think about it. Like, obviously the main kind of premise of the show is the experience of that 12, 13-year-old age group, and that's the age of majority of the cast. So I was kind of 15, 16 at the time, a bit older. So I kind of had the option of my time on set hanging out with 12-year-olds or hanging out with adults. So I actually spent a lot of my time hanging out with adults and kind of, I guess, growing up quite quickly and just learning a lot about life and a lot about the industry from quite a young age. So I did really enjoy that. But I was also at high school during the process. So that was really interesting as well, because I was doing year 11 and 12. It was really hectic because I would maybe be filming like anywhere between 2, 3, 4 days a week. And in between that, I was going back to school. So I would like have the weekend, and then if I was filming on, say, Monday, Tuesday, I would jump on the train and catch the train from Brisbane to the Gold Coast, like film for 2 or 3 days, get back on the train, back to Brisbane, go to high school for like 2 days, and then have the weekend, and then kind of start it all over again the next weeks. I actually don't. I remember more so we did quite a few weeks of rehearsals, and I remember going there with the key cast for like, I don't know whether it was a few weeks or something like that, and just kind of really getting to know each other and just really form that kind of bond and relationship that you kind of need when you're playing a family. Well, obviously the kids, I'd met all of them when we were doing the audition process. I met the actors who played our parents for the first time on set. They were just like so warm and so welcoming, just kind of really made us kids feel like welcome and relaxed on set. Yeah, they were basically like mum and dad figures straight away. The cast members I still probably hear and see the most from are like definitely Marnie. Marnie and I have caught up quite a few times. We've had, you know, key moments in our life and we've caught up, like when I had my son, when I had my first child, she came and met him, which was really beautiful. And Maya, we kind of have had a few little connections throughout life. It was actually really funny when I was living on the Gold Coast. I saw Maya out on the Gold Coast and kind of like took her out for a night clubbing, and it was just like the weirdest thing because I'm like, aren't you 12? You know, in my head always, but you know, she was 18, 19 by that stage. So I always remember that just being kind of like a funny moment where you're just like, wow, I am a grown up now. We're all grown ups. When Marnie and I would have like fighting scenes and we'd get to do kind of stunt, we'd get to like learn these kind of bits with the stunts crew and stuff like that was always fun and funny. And I think I've said this in interviews before. I just always found it funny how hard it was to get Marnie into the tutoring van and to do her schoolwork. That was always, I think, like all the ADs and all the assistants on sets, like biggest struggle, and our poor tutor trying to get Marnie to do any sort of schoolwork. Yeah, it was kind of a big thing because it was like, yeah, 8 months of your life when you're that age is obviously like really impactful. But honestly, at the time, I just remember being so excited for the wrap party. Like everyone had spoken about how like that's such a big thing in the film and TV industry. Like when you finish a show, there's like a huge wrap party and like it's so fun. And I just remember being like wanting to find the perfect outfit to wear and like just getting excited for a party, like classic me. It was in a time before social media and all that sort of stuff. So we weren't like super aware of the success of the show, or I guess how much it meant to people. I actually still didn't even realize until I joined TikTok recently, just because I work in the industry, and I was like, you know, like need to figure out this new platform. I was on maternity leave. I was kind of like mucking around on there and did like a post about how I like used to be Layla, like on one of these TikTok trends that were going around, and it had like 1.4 million views and like hundreds of thousands of comments. And I was just like, what? So yeah, I was like, then knowing that, I was kind of like, why did they never do a follow-up season? And it was actually Marnie who told me that it was because Angela Weber, who wrote the script, passed away, and they just all kind of decided that no one could ever write the Mortified story like she wrote it. That was kind of the end of it. If it was going to happen, it would have by now, or if it does happen, I'm sure it'll be with like a whole new cast and kind of a new type plot line, much like they've done kind of with Heartbreak High and that sort of thing at the moment. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I would love to see it, given I now know like what an impact it had on Australian children's lives. You know what? I feel like she would have gone one of two very different ways. She either would have kind of gotten out of that small town and like gone and done bigger and better and greater things, or I think she would have like gotten pregnant to one of her boyfriends at 18 and stayed in the local area and just kind of, made life hard for her parents for the rest of her life. No, not at all. And I never really even thought about it either. But yeah, it's funny. And then once I had children, I was kind of like, it's actually something that like I'm also avoided. I was like, I need to make sure that my kids' names don't rhyme. So I don't know whether that was like left over from that or whatever, but yeah, no one ever really talked about it or where the names came from or why. Like education was always really important to me. I finished high school. As I said, I got my OP. I went to university. I got a degree. And then pretty much straight out of university, I started working in the industry I work in now and just really quickly loved it and have always loved it. I started kind of in content production and social media management, that sort of thing, and worked my way up to creative direction. And I've now just started as the creative director of the Cotton On body brand. So yeah, I'm pretty fresh in the role, having also just returned from mat leave. 2 other big projects I've worked on in the last couple of years. I have a 3-year-old son, Hendrix, and a 10-month-old daughter, Maisie. I mean, I think I know the one that everyone remembers. Obviously, my have fun at school, which is always the one that gets thrown back at me. It's actually really funny as well because in Queensland, having lived in Victoria for like 7 years now, the way Queenslanders say school and the way Victorians say school is very different. Like Queensland have that very like school, whereas in Victoria they say school. So it's always really nice to have my like old school Queensland accent thrown back at me there.